أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبا القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious, may peace and blessings be upon our Master, our Prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and his holy household. May Allah bless him and send peace upon him and his holy household. The topic of tonight's room is on proving the Imamah of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam, who is the seventh Imam from the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, from the 12 Imams of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Now, the purpose for actually conducting this room or giving this presentation is because we are actually commemorating the Shahada or martyrdom of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kazem alayhi salam. And of course also because this topic should have been dealt on before today. But today is a special occasion, so we are taking the opportunity to present the facts on his Imamah and to defend his Imamah and to establish his Imamah and to respond or refute the shubuhat or doubts which have actually come from certain directions. So we should have actually done this maybe before today, but today is a good occasion, it's a good opportunity, and like I said, we will seize the opportunity and present the facts. Of course, the shubuhat have come from different directions, sometimes maliciously, sometimes in the form of presenting academic write-ups or articles, sometimes from our Ismaili brothers on their website, and at other times the Salafis or maybe our Sunni brothers even, they actually, promote these arguments which are misrepresentations of the facts and they have no basis. So in order not to conflate issues, because to establish the Imamah of an Imam, I don't think I would be able to do justice to this big topic. This is just an attempt. And inshallah, may Allah give me the strength, the knowledge, and the ability to actually present this fact in a way that is befitting to defend the Imamah of Imam Musa al-Kazem alayhi salam. So this is just an attempt. I cannot say, I will do justice to this topic. I will do my best, inshallah. And of course, you can always get more knowledge through research, maybe from other sources, from other places, from other lecturers, from other speakers, from other scholars, from other lay people who are passionate about their religion, like myself. So, in this first part, this is part 1, proving the Imamah of Imam Musa al-Kazem. I will deal on the views of Sunni scholars in relation to Imam Musa al-Kazem, how they viewed him. And this presentation will constitute what we would refer to as the Dalil Aqli, And of course, subsequently, we will deal on the Dalil Naqli, on the Imamah or the alleged Imamah of Ismail ibn Ja'far alayhi salam, on the fake Imam Abdullah al-Aftah, on the claims of our Ismaili brothers, on the issue of Bada, on certain companions of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq like Zurara, and some other miscellaneous subjects or topics relating to the Imamah of Imam Musa al-Kazem. We will try to refute all the shubuhat or doubts which have come from the Sunnis or the Salafis, and by extension from the Ismailis, inshallah. And the purpose for this also, for doing this also, is because there was a debate between me and a Sunni brother on the legitimacy of Abu Bakr's caliphate. We conducted that debate, and we had the debate on Abu Bakr's Khalifa or Khilafah. And afterwards, the Sunni brother disappeared. He did not want to hold the debate on the Imamah of Imam Musa al-Kazem, proving the Imamah of Imam Musa al-Kazem. Now, I don't know why, because I prepared for this debate. And based on my preparation, in order for the preparation and the research not to go to waste, I decided to seize the occasion on the martyrdom of Imam Musa al-Kazem and use my preparations, my research, my materials in order to make a presentation at this time. So I don't want the effort to go to waste, because the Sunni brother did not show up for the second debate on the Imamah of Imam Musa al-Kazem, even though he was the one to put me on the defense, to defend the Imamah of my Imam, but he didn't show up. So all the same, I would actually give the presentations, and I decided to divide the topics into parts so that I don't make it too congested and kind of boring, whereby people might lose interest. So first of all, I would go into the Dalil Aqli. What we can say is the Dalil Aqli to prove the Imamah of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam. So we will get to see the conduct, the standing, the position of Imam al-Kazem alayhi salam through the lenses of eminent Sunni scholars. Now, proving Imamah generally can be done in two major ways. This is the position of the Shia. We can prove Imamah through two ways. The first way is the Dalil Aqli, or true logical evidences. The second way is through the Dalil Naqli. The Aqli is the logical evidences, and the Naqli is the textual evidence. In other words, from the Quran and the Hadith. So I will pin a link from aqaid.com, which is the website run by the office of Grand Ayatollah Ali As-Sistani. In this website, under this title, Al-Dalil Al-Aqli ala Imamat Ali alayhi salam, the Dalil, the logical evidence on the Imamah of Imam Ali alayhi salam, they have presented certain points on what the features or the qualities we actually find in the Imam. So, three prominent features are: he has to be knowledgeable, he must be just or upright, and the third quality, he must be courageous. Just as the Prophet ﷺ was known, for example, as Al-Amin. The Prophet was trustworthy, so he was upright. This is part of his uprightness. So even to this day, the Muslims, when, for example, they are disputing with Christians or non-Muslims, they actually give the evidence that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he stood in Mecca and he asked the people if they would believe him if he tells them, so and so. There's a hadith as such. This is not our topic. So they said, yeah, whatever you tell us, we would believe you. So he actually placed hujjah upon them to establish that they believed, they saw him as an upright person. This was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he used this Dalil Aqli to say, oh, you believe that I am a truthful, honest person. So if, subsequently I present my nubuwwah to you, you would not have any doubt to say, I am lying or I have lied to anybody. So this is, this constituted Dalil Aqli. Similarly, we can also, find Dalil Aqli even in the Bible. Like, Jesus was questioned. He was questioned. They used to come question him. Same with John the Baptist. We see Dalil Aqli even in the Bible. Similarly, our Imams are not, above presenting Dalil Aqli for them. We also have Dalil Aqli for Imamah and we have Dalil Aqli for each Imam. Now, in the case of the general concept, there are three features, like I have stated, which we look for in the Imams. For example, he has to be knowledgeable, just or upright, and courageous. So, in the debate I had with Super Omar, I actually presented the Dalil Aqli that Sunnis actually hold, and I applied it on Abu Bakr to see if Abu Bakr was actually befitting to be called an Imam of the Muslims or the Khalifa of Rasulullah. And of course, I disproved the general Imamah of Abu Bakr, which the Sunnis believe in. And I proved that he was not a qualified candidate among the other evidences and arguments I made in that debate. That's in the debate that actually was held. So, in our today's lecture, I will present the Sunni position on Dalil Aqli. I will present their views as to what constitutes Dalil Aqli. And based on this, I will actually apply it on Imam Musa al-Kazem alayhi salam to see if this person actually had what it takes for us to believe that this man was actually the Imam of the Muslims. So there is a link that is pinned up, and it is from Al-Fasl of the Sunni scholar Ibn Hazm, volume 4, page 128. Most of the links I will be presenting and the references are from library or lib.efatwa.ir. This is an online Shia library. So whatever reference in terms of volume or page number, this is the reference I'm using. So if you later on want to verify the references, and the links are also pinned here on Clubhouse in the room. So Ibn Hazm actually gave conditions in order to accept somebody as the Imam of the Muslims. He said he must be a Qurayshi, he has to be from Quraysh, he must be an adult with unique attributes, it must be a man, he must be a Muslim, up to the task, in other words, he has to be competent, and then he mentioned he must be knowledgeable on the obligations of the deen. He must be entirely pious, does not cause fasad on earth, he is not a servant to another man. These are the qualities that Ibn Hazm has presented. Then there's another scholar, his name is Sa'd Taftazani. He also stated the qualities of the Imam of the Muslims. And in his book, it's called Sharh al-Maqasid, Volume 5, page 223. Taftazani said, "We have mentioned in our books of jurisprudence that it is incumbent upon the Ummah to have an Imam who revives the Sharia, upholds the Sunnah, and protects the rights of the oppressed, fulfills the rights and applying them appropriately. The conditions are he must be mature, Muslim, upright or just, free, male, mujtahid, courageous, up to the task, hearing and seeing, speaking, Qurashi, and if you don't find from Quraysh someone who fulfills these conditions, then give authority to one from Canaan, that's the land of Canaan. If there is none from a descendant of Ismail, as if you don't have someone who is from Quraysh and he's from the descendant of Ismail, you can give preference to somebody who is from Canaan or Canaan, the land of Canaan, in other words, Bilad al-Sham, or particularly Palestine. And if there is none, then Ajami. These are the conditions that Sa'ad Taftazani in Sharh al-Maqasid, he has given, has the qualities for the Imam of the Muslims. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, further on I should say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Yunus verse 35, he has set a principle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, say, are there of your partners any who guides to the truth? Say, Allah guides to the truth. So is he who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or he who guides not unless he is guided? Then what is wrong with you? How do you judge? This is Surah Yunus, verse 35. So Allah is saying that someone who guides to the truth, he is more worthy to be followed and obeyed than someone who himself needs to be guided. This is the condition we find in the Holy Quran. So logically, and therefore Quran-wise, the general Imam of Islam and the Muslim has to be the most knowledgeable person, because for you to be able to guide others and not others guiding you, you need the knowledge. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to be, in fact, the most knowledgeable in your time, in theory and in practice, and of the most upright, pious, and trustworthy character, along with other specifics, which Sunni scholars have placed as conditions. Now, one may ask, why am I focusing on the conditions given by the Sunni scholars? Very simple. I can give you, for example, the Dalil Aqli from the Shia books on the Imamah of Imam Musa Kazem alayhi salam, and the three conditions generally accepted, that he must be knowledgeable, he must be upright, he must be courageous. I can prove it from our books. Then there is no need, for this lecture if I am speaking to a Shia. But what I am doing here is, I am going into the books of our opponents, since, their scholars have something to say about our Imams, and especially Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam. I want to give evidence from the books of our adversaries or our opponents. So that no one will say, oh, the Shias, the Ithna Ashariya, they are biased or they are prejudiced, or this is not an acceptable evidence or source, so it's not acceptable to us. Who cares? No, I'm giving you what the scholars of the Mukhalifin have said. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you from their books. So, to validate this point, I'm going to quote Sunni scholars who have made statements to that effect to prove that Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kazem alayhi salam, he was the most pious, upright, and most knowledgeable man in his time. This is evidence from the Sunni books. And if you can get me somebody the Sunnis claim has Imam Kazem, then we can talk. But I will present the words of the Sunnis, the Sunni scholars, eminent Sunnis, prominent Sunni scholars on this Imam from the Ahlul Bayt. And this is the topic for today, or for this segment. Tomorrow, inshallah, I will go into the Dalil Naqli. Today is the Dalil Aqli from the Sunni books for Imam Musa al-Kazem alayhi salam. So the first reference is from Sawa'iq al-Muhriqa, volume 2, page 590. I will pin this link from the library, and so Sawa'iq al-Muhriqa, volume 2, page 590 of Ibn Hajar al-Haythami. He described Imam Musa al-Kazem in this way. He is the inheritor of knowledge and ma'rifah, cognition, and perfection and merits. This is not a Shi'i scholar speaking here, a Sunni scholar describing Imam al-Kazem alayhi salam. He is the inheritor of knowledge and ma'rifah and perfection and merits. He was given the title of al-Kazem because of his oversight of those who transgressed against him and his forbearance. He is known to the people of Iraq as Bab al-Hawa'ij 'inda Allah, or the door of needs to Allah. He was the most devout among the people of his time and the most knowledgeable and the kindest. This is what a Sunni scholar has to say about my Imam. The most. This is what he's saying. It's not what a Shi'i scholar is saying. طيب. We go to the second reference from Hayat al-Hayawan al-Kubra by a scholar, a Shafi'i scholar called al-Damayri. Al-Damayri al-Shafi'i. He died in 622 after Hijrah. In volume 1, page 189, in Hayat al-Hayawan al-Kubra by al-Damayri, he said, Musa al-Kazem died in the year 183 or 187 after Hijrah, poisoned. It is stated that he died in prison, and Imam of Ahlul Sunnah al-Shafi'i used to say, the grave of al-Kazem is the tested antidote or healing. Allahu Akbar. This is the Imam of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Al-Shafi'i, been quoted here. He said, the grave of Imam al-Kazem alayhi salam is a place for healing in this book. Then we go to the third reference. It is from Ibn al-Jawzi. Now, Ibn al-Jawzi, he is described in Siyar A'lam and Nubala. So, nobody will say who he is or what he's saying or what he's saying is wrong, or nobody can challenge his point of view. Just for us to introduce who this man is or was, I will quote Al-Dhahabi in Siyar A'lam and Nubala and what he said about Ibn Jawzi. In Siyar A'lam and Nubala, volume 21, page 366, Al-Dhahabi, he described Ibn Jawzi as Sheikh, Imam, scholar, Hafiz, Mufassir, the pride of Iraq. This is how Dhahabi is describing Al-Jawzi. He is the pride of Iraq after giving him other accolades. What did Al-Jawzi in Sifatul Safwa, a book called Sifatul Safwa, volume 1, page 399, what did Al-Jawzi say about Imam Musa al-Kazim? Al-Dhahabi, he is describing Ibn Jawzi as the pride of Iraq. Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam, he was buried, or he is buried in Iraq. So this Sunni scholar has something to say about Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam. He said, in Sifatul Safwa, volume 1, page 399, he was Musa ibn Ja'far ibn Muhammad ibn Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali Abu al-Hasan al-Hashimi alayhi salam. Not a Shia scholar talking here, a Sunni. He was called the righteous servant, al-Abdus Salih, due to his worship and ijtihad. So, in this one statement, he's righteous, he's pious, he's a mujtahid. In the previous statement of Al-Haythami, he's the most knowledgeable, most kindest, among other merits that he described Imam al-Kazim with. So here, Ibn Jawzi went on to say, he was called the righteous servant of Allah due to his worship and ijtihad and his rising for prayers at night. He was a generous man and forbearing and trustworthy. On the following page, Ibn Jawzi gave an interesting account. He reported from Fadl ibn Rabi' from his father that when Al-Mahdi al-Abbasi, the Sunni Abbasi Caliph, imprisoned Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam, Al-Mahdi saw in his dream Imam Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam speaking to him and reciting verse 22 of Surah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. This verse 22 reads, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Muhammad verse 22, then is it to be expected of you, if you gain authority, that you will do mischief in the land and break your ties of kith and kin? He saw Imam Ali, this Abbasi Caliph, after he imprisoned Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam, According to this source of Ibn Jawzi, he saw Imam Ali in his dream. In other words, Imam Ali is reprimanding him using this verse of the Quran, because the Abbasi Caliph, he's descended from the uncle of the Prophet, Al-Abbas. He's from Banu Hashim. So Imam Ali alayhi salam, he's using this significant symbolic verse to reprimand him in his dream. So how did this caliph actually interpret the dream? He saw it as a sign, and he immediately released Imam al-Kazem alayhi salam from prison. And of course, this is still mentioned in page 400 of the same account I am quoting from Sifatul Safwa, volume 1, page 399 page 400 of Ibn Jawzi. I gave the account of Ibn Jawzi, now I am quoting the dream that he mentions of the caliph of the Abbasids, Al-Mahdi. So the caliph saw this as a sign, and he immediately released Imam al-Kazim from prison on one condition. He told the Imam that he will not rise up against his rule. Don't rise up against my rule. He further handed the Imam a sum of money, and he asked him to depart to Medina, the city of his grandfather. Of course, Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam, he was severally imprisoned and released until finally he was poisoned by Harun al-Abbasi, who is called falsely Harun al-Rashid. Another very similar miraculous event that led to the release of the Imam from prison is found in Uyun Akhbar al-Rida. This is volume 1 on the traditions about Musa ibn Ja'far. It's a very long tradition, so I will pin the link here if you want to go through it. This is hadith number 4, Uyun Akhbar al-Rida, volume 1, hadith number 4. Under the volume 1, the chapter heading is on the traditions about Musa ibn Ja'far, Harun al-Rashid, and Musa ibn al-Mahdi. I think I should read this tradition. So Ahmad ibn Ziyad ibn Ja'far al-Hamadani, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that Ali ibn Ibrahim ibn Hashim quoted on the authority of his father, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Saleh, on the authority of Al-Fadl ibn al-Rabi', on the authority of Al-Fadl ibn al-Rabi', that he was in bed with one of his wives. Then I heard the doorbell ring in the middle of the night. It made me frightened. My wife said perhaps it was due to the wind. A short time later, the door of my room opened, and Masroor al-Kabir, Harun's servant, the caliph, entered the room and told me, "The commander of the faithful, or the commander, has called you in." He did not even greet me, seeing that he just entered my room without seeking my permission, and that he did not greet me. It occurred to me that Harun intends to kill me. Harun is a tyrant. So, why is he sending for this man like in the middle of the night? His henchman sending for him in the middle of the night. So he got frightened. So he said, "I was in a state of major impurity, but I did not dare ask him to let me make a major ritual ablution. When my wife noticed my stress and agitation, she said, 'Rely on the Honorable, the Exalted God, and get up.' Then I got up, put on my clothes, and left the house with him and went to Harun's house. Then I greeted the commander of the faithful," he means Harun al-Rashid, or Harun al-Abbasi, So Harun was in bed. He greeted back. I fell to the ground. He said, "Were you frightened?" I replied, "O Commander of the Faithful, yes." He left me alone for a while until I became calm. Then he told me, "Go to jail, free Musa ibn Ja'far, and give him 30,000 dirhams and 5 ropes of honor. Give him 3 horses and inform him that he is free to decide to stay with us or go to whichever town that he wills." Then I said, "O Commander of the Faithful, are you ordering me to free Musa ibn Ja'far?" He replied, "Yes." And he repeated it thrice. Then he asked me, "Yes, do you want me to break my covenant?" I said, "Which covenant?" He replied, "When I was in this bed, I suddenly saw a black man. I had never seen any black man that was bigger than him before. He grabbed my neck, sat on my chest, and tried to choke me. He said, 'Have you oppressively imprisoned Musa ibn Ja'far?' Then I told him, I will free him and give him presents and robes of honor. Then he had me pledge by the Honorable, the Exalted God, and got off my chest. I was about to die." The narrator of this tradition added, "Then I left him and went to Musa ibn Ja'far in jail. I saw that he was standing in prayer. I waited until he finished saying his prayers. Then I expressed the greetings of the Commander of the Faithful to him and informed him about that which I had been ordered to do. I told him that the presents were ready. He said, 'Do any other things which you have been ordered to do.' I said, 'No, I swear by your grandfather, the messenger of God, that I have not been ordered to do anything else.' He said, 'I do not need the robes of honor, the horses, and the property, since they belong to the nation.' This is an Imam of piety. He is not moved by the gifts of the Caliph. He doesn't care about your gifts." I said, "By God, do not turn them down. Harun will get mad." He said, "Do with them as you please." I took his hand and brought him out of jail. Then I asked him, "O son of God's prophet, can you inform me about the reason you received all these honors from this man? You owe me that, since I gave you the glad tidings of your freedom. And this was done by me." Then he said, "I saw the prophet on Wednesday night. He asked me, 'O Musa, have you been oppressively imprisoned?' I replied, 'O Messenger of God, yes.' The prophet repeated this question 3 times and then said, 'I know not but that it may be a trial for you, and a grant of worldly livelihood to you for a time.' Then the prophet told me, 'Fast tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Say 12 units of prayers at the time of breaking your fast. In each unit, recite the opening chapter once and the chapter Al-Ikhlas 12 times. In the 4th unit of prayer, fall in prostration and say, O the one who survives after everyone's death, O the hearer of all sounds, O the reviver of the rotten bones after death, I implore you by your great name, the greatest, please send blessings upon Muhammad, your servant and your messenger, and upon the members of his holy household, the pure ones. I beg you to expedite my relief from the conditions I am in.' Then I did as the Prophet had instructed me to do, and what you saw happened." So, these are like reports from a Sunni book, rather, and a Shia book about one of the miracles of Imam Musa al-Kazem alayhi salam. I would say, arguably, his Imamah was one of the most miraculous. the most miraculous among the 12 Imams, the Imamah of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam. And to this day, when the Shia, they need to do tawassul in order to get security, what do we say? بأمانة Musa ibn Ja'far. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for security and safety through Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam. Because these are the miracles in the Sunni books and in the Shia books which have been recorded about this Imam. If the Sunni scholars, they are telling us about the miracles of Imam al-Kazem alayhi salam, then what more proof do I need for Imamah, or in particular for his Imamah? Your Sunni scholars are telling you that this Imam was not an ordinary person. This Imam had miracles. Al-Haythami is not a Shi'i. He's not Ithna Ashari. Ibn Jawzi is not Ithna Ashari. They are the ones telling us about the miracles of our Imams. And in particular of Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam. So I will further go to another Sunni scholar, Fakhruddin al-Razi. Fakhruddin al-Razi, in his tafsir al-Kabir, Mafatih al-Ghaib, volume 33, page 313, under the commentary on Surah Al-Kawthar, he commented, he said, "Look at how many of the Ahlul Bayt have been killed, and the world is filled up with them, and there is no one left from Banu Umayyah who cares about them. And look at how many from the Ahlul Bayt are of the greatest of the ulama, like Al-Baqir, Al-Sadiq, Al-Kazim, and Al-Rida, peace be upon them. The Kawthar are the Ummah of the Prophet's nation, and by my life there is a lot of good, because they are like the prophets of Banu Israel." So first of all, he's attributing knowledge to them by saying these are the ulama of the Ahlul Bayt. Afterwards, he's saying they are like the prophets of Banu Israel. Who did he mention? He didn't mention, of course, the previous Imams, like Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussein, Imam Zainul Abidin. These were the pioneers of the Ahlul Bayt. He's talking of later generations on the Surah Al-Kawthar, the progeny of the Prophet. He's mentioning Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, Imam al-Kazim, Imam al-Rida, describing them as the scholars of the Ahlul Bayt, and he said they are like the prophets of Banu Israel. So if such a scholar of the Ahlul Bayt, he is comparing my Imam or my Imams to the Anbiya of Banu Israel, who are you to deny? This is evidence from the Mukhalifin, not from an Ayatollah, not from Najaf. Tayyib. We go further. We come to Ad-Dahabi. Ad-Dahabi has at least 3 accounts on Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, Ad-Dahabi, in Mizan al-I'tidal, volume 4, page 202. Just a second, so I pin this link. Al-Dahabi said, "Verily, Musa was the best among the people of wisdom and the most pious of worshippers, and he has a well-known structure in Baghdad." He's talking of his shrine. This is one. In Tarikh al-Islam of the same Dahabi, volume 12, page 233. Let me pin this. He said, in Tarikh al-Islam, volume 12, page 233, he was righteous, knowledgeable, pious, and God-fearing. We come to his TED account in Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, volume 6, page 271. This link is not from lib.efatwa. This is from Islam Web, a Sunni website. He said, the Imam, he is describing Imam Musa al-Kazem alayhi salam. He said, the Imam, the role model, the Sayyid, Abu al-Hasan al-Alawi, the father of the Imam, Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha, Medinite, he resided in Baghdad. Abu Hatim mentioned him and said, he is upright, thiqah, truthful, saduq, Imam from the Imams of the Muslims. Further below on the same page, the same story which was earlier mentioned from Ibn Jawzi, that Al-Mahdi al-Abbasi saw Imam Ali alayhi salam in his dream, and the Imam alayhi salam, Imam Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, recited verse 22 of Surah Muhammad to him. Then Al-Mahdi al-Abbasi ordered the release of Imam Musa al-Kazem alayhi salam from prison, because the dream and the specific verse cited in the dream by Imam Ali alayhi salam was understood by the Caliph as a sign from the unseen to release Imam Musa al-Kazem and to free him from oppression. So far we have proved like almost all the conditions which constitute Dalil Aqli, which are given by the Sunni scholars, whether it has to do with knowledge, wisdom, upright, just, kind, generous, so many qualities here. The only quality that remains is to prove how courageous was the Imam. He was oppressed, yes. But was he courageous? The answer is yes. And how can we prove this? So, to prove the courage of the Imam, when Harun al-Rashid or al-Abbasi visited the grave of Rasulullah in Medina, Harun al-Rashid greeted the Prophet in his grave by addressing the Prophet as his cousin. He greeted him, Assalamu alayka, son of my cousin, Assalamu alayka, son of my uncle. This is how he greeted Rasulullah in order to evoke the admiration of the people who were present. This is what Harun al-Rashid did. Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam, he was present. He also wanted to greet Rasulullah. So he said, "Peace be upon you, O father." He addressed Rasulullah as his father in the presence of Harun al-Rashid. This is, in other words, he did not shy away from standing up and identifying himself. This needs courage. Then, further on, there is a letter that the Imam alayhi salam, he sent to Harun al-Rashid when he was under oppression. The letter, the content of the letter reads in this way, thus, or in this way. It says, this is a translation from Arabic. It's supposed to be poetic. He said, "A day of affliction will not pass for me unless a day of prosperity will pass for you with it, until we'll all come to a day that has no end, in which the wrongdoers lose." Both of these accounts have been recorded in Siyar A'lam, volume 6, page 271. Finally, in Sawa'iq al-Muhriqa, volume 2, page 592. This is the last link on the Dalil Aqli from the Sunni books. So, in this link from Sawa'iq al-Muhriqa, volume 5, 592, it's mentioned also that Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam was imprisoned and he was released after the caliph saw a dream, and Imam Ali was in the dream and he mentioned Surah Muhammad, verse 22, then he was released. And when he was released, at some point, Harun al-Rashid saw the Imam in Mecca. Harun al-Rashid saw him sitting by the Kaaba. So he came to the Imam. He said, "أنت الذي تبايعك الناس سرا?" Said, "Are you the person that people come and give bay'ah in secret?" This is what Harun al-Rashid is telling the Imam. Now, people, of course, definitely, they were attracted to the Imams. They come to the Imam. To the Imams, those who knew of their status and they accepted them, they come to them and they obeyed the Imams. So Harun al-Rashid is asking him, he said, "Are you the one you secretly getting bay'ah from the people?" Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam replied. He said, "Ana imamul qulub wa anta imamul jusum." He said, "I am the Imam of the hearts. People love me, the Muslims love me, while you are the Imam of the bodies, of the material world." This proves the courage of Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam. So, we've come to the conclusion of the first part for today. Inshallah, tomorrow's presentation will commence with this hadith from Al-Kafi. We will go into the Dalil Naqli, the textual evidence for the Imamah of Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam. And of course, subsequently, we'll go into the shubuhat, the doubts, the arguments, the objections. Was Ismail an Imam? Was Abdullah al-Aftah an Imam? What's the concept of Bada? Companions of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, the issue of the Shia's getting confused when one Imam died and another succeeds? How do we view all these things? So subsequently, inshallah, tomorrow and in the subsequent presentations, inshallah, I hope it will be in 7 episodes, but if it may take more, inshallah, we will try to cover all the points. So in this hadith from Al-Kafi, volume 1, this is Sahih by Al-Majlisi and Sahih by Al-Bahbudi. Double Sahih. If you go to this hadith, you look at the double Sahih, you cannot say anything but to accept it. Muhammad ibn Yahya has narrated from Muhammad ibn al-Husayn, from Ibn Mahbub, from Al-A'la ibn Razin, from Abdullah ibn Abu Ya'fur, from Abu Abdullah alayhi salam as-Sadiq, salamullah alayhi, who has said the following: the Imam does not die until he learns who the succeeding Imam is, so he will deliver his will to him. قال لا يموت الإمام حتى يعلم من يكون من بعده فيوصي إليه. He learns, يعني he teaches people, he informs people, he makes people to know, he teaches people who the following Imam is, and he declares his successor. قال لا يموت الإمام حتى يعلم من يكون من بعده فيوصي إليه, until it is known who the succeeding Imam is and he makes his will to him. In other words, one of the duties of the Imam is to declare his successor. So inshallah, tomorrow we will find out whether Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he actually designated Imam Musa al-Kazem as his successor. We will establish first the nas for Imam Musa al-Kazem, and then we will go into the argument of those who have doubts about Ismail alayhi salam, about Abdullah al-Aftah, about Muhammad al-Dibaj, about Zurara, about Bada, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth, inshallah. So if you have a question, please, you can send through the back channel, maybe for a minute or two. If not, inshallah, we'll end this so we don't, make it too lengthy and it's on replay, and inshallah others may listen to this and benefit later on. The references are there. They can read the links, and maybe we may actually upload these presentations on YouTube. So if you actually have any question, please just send me through the back channel, or you can type it on the room chat. So, inshallah, jazakumullah khairan. May Allah bless you for your time, for your attention. Inshallah, tomorrow is another appointment, and we'll continue with the presentations, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.